Ready.
Everybody, how's everybody doing tonight? Tonight, I think we have a really special night for numerous reasons. I think we've got one of the top coaches in all of college basketball here tonight to speak. And before I get into introducing him, I just want to give a chance to tell everybody, if you haven't done so already, leave your contact information in the chat box. Leave your contact information in the chat box. Again, we have one of the top premier college basketball head coaches in the country. Honored and excited. Got a chance to ask him a couple of weeks ago if he'd do it, and without any hesitation, he was like, "Yeah, I got no problem doing it, Ryan." And you know, he stuck to his guns. And one thing I'll say about him is, I don't know when he knows when we met, but I met him back when I was an assistant coach at Arkansas Fort Smith, which was 10 years ago. And at the time, he was in Springfield, Missouri, at Missouri State. And he probably remembers he was recruiting a kid out of Fort Smith. He ended up getting the kid to come there, and he came there. And then when he left, that kid came to Fort Smith. So he's familiar with that. But he's a guy that near and far, he always makes it a point to stay in contact with me. You know, in a position where a lot of head coaches, I believe, when they get to a certain level, they sometimes forget some of the guys that they got to know along that path, and he has never done that. He's always been the same guy, and I know other people on this Zoom meeting probably can attest to the same thing. He's the same way that he's always been. Very down home, very outgoing, and excited to have him tonight. He's a guy that has led 3 different programs to the NCAA tournament, Tennessee, California, and Missouri. He's won the Ben Jobe National College Coach of the Year Award. He's accumulated 236 wins in his collegiate coaching career. And he is, again, one of the top college basketball head coaches at any level. And he's going to come out here today and drop some gems for us and drop the mic for us. Coach Cuonzo Martin.
Well, thank you, Ryan. Thank you for having me. I certainly appreciate being here. I don't take this for granted by any stretch. I feel like we all can learn and grow. And what I'll do, and really, because sometimes I can just talk for hours, and sometimes I get off tracks because I often try to give content or context to a story. But I've created, kind of a PowerPoint presentation, graphic style. Through this COVID, I learned how to do a lot of different things with some assistance from guys on my staff. But because I want you guys to feel it, and I'll talk through a lot of different things, man. If you have any questions, I'm all ears, man. I don't have nothing to hide. I have no angles to me, and I am what I am. And if you can share that, Ryan, I appreciate it. I just want to get this.
Coach, I'm going to make you the co-host.
Okay.
So that way you can go ahead and you can share your screen whenever you're ready.
Okay, because as I work through this, give me a second. Give me a second. I just want to. Yeah, there you go. Forgive me, just working through this. Sorry about that. I'm just trying to. Can you guys see that?
We got it, Coach. We can see.
Does it say what would I tell myself 20 years ago? Okay. As I talked to as a coach, and it's actually 20 years ago when I started doing this thing, the first thing I would do more than anything is listen clearly and write everything down. Listen clearly and write everything down. The other thing I would do is I would get to know the Black community and the campus leaders, because oftentimes we're going so fast and we lose sight of those people that we can learn from. And not to say any other race, take them for granted, but just to really get to know the Black community and the campus leaders, because they have wisdom. Then the other thing, just really try to be yourself. Don't try to fit in. Allow your scars to show. Sometimes, and growing up in East St. Louis, man, I felt like because my background was a rough one, I felt like I had to present a different way than where I was from. You had to talk a different way and all that. I never changed how I talked. But just be who you are. Allow your scars to show, because that's part of your strength, and it's very important to understand that. Then the other thing, what I was able to do, number 4, is to seek counsel from the maintenance crew, the custodial staff, and the dining staff. I was able to do that, and the reason why is because my mom, she used to be a maid at a hotel downtown St. Louis. And when I was younger, because we didn't have financially could afford a babysitter, I would go to work with her sometimes, as well as my brother and sister. So I've seen that up close, and I respect that craft. Don't try to do everything, but be the best version of yourself, whatever that is, man. Don't try to compete with the next guy on your staff. Be the best version of yourself. It's very important. The other things, and I know we might have some women on here, so forgive me. Work your nuts off and learn how to tread water. And what I mean, learn how to tread water when times get tough, you're in the midst of possibly losing your job, something happens at home, you got to learn how to tread water. And what I always tell myself is, as if I'm out in the ocean with a weight vest on, how do I survive? How do I survive? There's nobody there to save me, so how do I survive this? Learn how to tread water, even if you tread for hours. Don't complain, don't make excuses. Nobody can save you. Learn how to fight. Then the other thing, and I think this happens with a lot of staffs, don't jockey for position. What you try to do, what you should try to do, and I'm saying this because I did all this stuff. And what I'm saying to you is not what I heard. This is what I've been through. Fight for wisdom and understanding, because the more you gain wisdom and understanding, the better off you are. Try to gain wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. And then all of a sudden you look up 10 or 15 years later, it fell in your lap because you worked for the right things. Then the other thing, man, this is tough. What's in the dark will come to light. Whatever you're doing in recruiting, man. And I say this because this is, we talking 100 here. And what I say to guys, man, especially guys that, do stuff on the table as coaches, man, because again, I'm from East St. Louis, and I don't judge no man. And when I talk to AU coaches, and I say to guys, when I talk to those guys, what I say to them, I say, guys, can you hear me? Okay. And what I say to those guys all the time, when you're doing stuff under the table, make sure everybody eats. So if you're an AAU coach and you're doing stuff under the table, don't just be the only guy eating. I'm not judging, but don't be the only guy eating. Make sure the community eats, because if you get money under the table and the community doesn't eat off that money, man, get a section, get 4 or 5 rows of houses, Section 8 housing, put families in those houses. Now you get government money coming in. Then at the corner of those areas, get a restaurant, get a mom and pop grocery store, so now the community eats. Because if one guy eats, nobody's eating. And we have to understand that part. And then the other thing, the Lord is the light of my salvation. Whom shall I fear? The Lord is the stronghold of my life. So whom shall I be afraid of? Psalms 27:1. I ask myself, whom shall I ever be afraid of if I truly believe in what I just read? I have no fears, not on this earth, because I believe in him. And that's important that I understand that. And I go back to when I grew up, I saw my mom working as a maid. I saw my mom in an abusive relationship from the time I was probably 4 or 5 years old to 12 years old. I saw that up close. We had to go move with a group of nuns who had a house in St. Louis for 3 months just so she could have a safe haven.
I would like to see him be more mentally tough.
And that's one of the things that we had to do. We had to go to a home so they can help us save for 3 months so my mom can go into hiding. And that was very important. I seen my mom working at a bar at night to make ends meet. But what my mom would always do, she'd always say, dream big and never give up. Dream big and never give up. And that was very important for us to understand. Dream big, never give up. Fight for your dreams. And I'm gonna share this other one for you. I got one more to share, Ryan. I got two more actually to share if I can. And if not, I'll read it to you. Don't worry about it, I'll read it to you. Here's the first thing. The keys to life, success, and happiness. The first thing is accountability. Are you reliable and are you trustworthy? Are you reliable and are you trustworthy? The other thing, number two, is what's your character? And what I've found with character, your character is manifested when your values, your principles, and your morals are tested. Your character is manifested when your values, your principles, and your morals are tested, because everybody have character when it's good. When it's tested when you have power, sex, drugs, and alcohol, your character is tested. Then the other thing, are you grateful for your opportunities? Are you thankful? I've been around assistant coaches. Man, I don't like my head coach. If he was doing this, he's doing that, man. Grateful for that opportunity, man. Because of that male or female, that's how you're allowed to eat, because they're the head coaches. If you agree or disagree, talk with them respectfully. The other thing, sometimes the worst part of fear is there's no one to talk to. The worst part of fear when there was no one to talk to. And I'll never forget when I was a head coach at Missouri State. Our first year, we were 11 and 20. That was the loneliest place I felt like I've ever been in sports, because I had nowhere to turn to. Because what happens, I go home to my wife, where she's taking care of 3 young kids. My staff, I didn't want my staff to sit there and think, man, coach, you the leader. You're supposed to give us direction. And I didn't have many counterparts as other head coaches I felt like I can talk to, because I didn't want to be judged. So we have to keep that in mind, man. Don't be afraid to communicate with people. The other thing is commitment. What I found, God wants to reveal your discipline, your fight, and your tenacity. And it's the same way he did for David against Goliath. He wants to reveal your discipline, your fight, and your tenacity. So when times get hard, understand, man, you should applaud when times get hard. That means God has a plan. The other thing I live by is perseverance. And I saw my mom go through this for a long time, and she would even say it. She'd come home, as a maid all day, as a bar, working at a sports bar at night. And sometimes she would just sit there in a chair, and she would always say, it's really hard to attack what's next, when what's behind you left you so depleted. It left you so depleted. She was exhausted. The other thing with perseverance, I read Martin Luther King's biography. And Martin Luther King had 4 kids. His first daughter was 4 months old when he's in Montgomery with that bus boycott. His first daughter was 4 months old when his house was bombed. Now, he had 3 more kids after the first one. He could have easily gave up and said, man, I'm going back to Atlanta. I don't want no parts of this. He had 3 more kids, so he stayed in the fight. He persevered in the fight, and here we are today. The other thing my mom used to talk about all the time, and I didn't understand when I was little, she just always say, dream big. Dream big. She would take us to home shows, and I grew up in East St. Louis, Illinois. Across the bridge was St. Louis, Missouri. She would take us to home shows. We never had a car, so we'd have to take 2 local buses out to these beautiful homes. I would say 45 minutes total on bus rides. And we would go through these home shows, and actually other families walking through the home shows. And we would lay on those beds, man. It felt like we were at home because it felt good. And she would I'm talking about once every 2 or 3 months, she would take us to these homes. She would always say, dream big dream big when you were younger. And I say this with all humility. I was able to buy my mom a home. I own several homes because of dreaming big. And I say that with respect and humility. Never stop dreaming. And here's the other thing, and I think where we are, especially as Black Americans, where we are right now. God doesn't call the qualified. I'll say it again. God does not call the qualified. He qualifies the called. 1 Corinthians 1, 27, 29. Because oftentimes we think, man, I don't want to talk about that because I'm not an eloquent speaker. I'm not a great orator on that subject of African-American history and African-American studies, so I don't want to talk about it. Man, if God qualifies you, talk about it. Your word has power. Your word has impact. So again, God does not call the qualified. He qualifies the called. Sometimes when you get to a destination of what God promised you, because right now we all fighting, we fighting for something, we fighting for something. Sometimes when you get to a destination of what God promised you, it doesn't feel like a celebration because of what it costs to get there. Because of what it costs to get there. It's so exhausting to get to that point. So exhausting. So exhausting. So exhausting. I think it's important that we learn how to fight. You have to love your players. Everything you do, you have to be consumed with your players all the time. When I started coaching this game, it was coaching, my family's coaching. You felt, okay, coach, I want to be this, I want to be that. Then I started to realize when I went to California, Berkeley, it changed my life. It changed my perspective about coaching. And I started to realize what was really important about these guys getting degrees and great educations. That was the most important thing. Them guys understanding, not just intern. I want our guys to get internships as well as jobs. You have to fight for those things, and it's very important that we fight for that. I think for each one of us, if it's in high school, it's a little different, but if we're college coaches, we should make sure all of our seniors, before September hit, they have their resume and their cover letter. The resume and cover letter should already be filled out. You owe it to yourself, especially with the Zoom call. You can have Fortune 500 speakers right now. You can have Fortune 500 speakers talk to your players once a month about jobs and opportunities. September, October, November. You should have Fortune 500 companies talking to your athletes, your student athletes. You should demand from your administration that you get 100% placement rate when your seniors are done playing. Because they put all that time in, they don't have a lot of time to do internships during the season because we work them hard. So when they're done as seniors, at least I can do is make the call to get them a job, at least in the state. Now, if you want to get a job outside the state, that's different. But we owe it to them within that state to get them a job and opportunity. If he or she pass it up, that's on them, that's okay. But we have to be adamant about 100% placement rate for our seniors. Then the other thing, you have to fight your administration, depending on your financial situation, for your student athletes. When they're done playing 4+ years, got a degree, worked off at a university, I need a suit for this job opportunity. I need a suit, I need some business cards. That's the least we can do. With 4+ years of service, I can do that at least. And then the other thing that I think we don't do a great job of in the Black community, especially with our Black athletes, we have to start giving back to the university we went to, because now we can be a part of the decision-making process. When you look at those curators, rarely are they athletes. When those committee members, rarely are they former athletes. When you look at who gave back their name on those universities, rarely are they former Black athletes. So now all of a sudden, when it's time for us to make decisions, how can we be a part of the decision-making process if we've never given anything back? We have to work hard, man. And I'll say this, and I didn't understand at the time, and Purdue was on my head about it, but when I left Purdue as a senior, I started giving back $200 a year, and I didn't even have it. And I've been giving since, but it has a major impact when we're able to do that. So that way you have say in situations. It's very important we start getting say in those situations. The one thing I would suggest, because somebody on this call, and it could be more than one person, will coach in a Final Four game and win a national championship. Somebody on this call. It's going to happen. But as you climb the ladder, one thing I would suggest to you, as you gain power, don't lose compassion. Because power without compassion is dangerous and it's scary. As you can see with our president, and I don't care, I'm not even talking politics. Power without compassion is dangerous. It can get us all in trouble. So now understand the impact when you have as a leader, as a coach, when you have power. What I do every morning, I pray to God for a tremendous amount of humility. Because the more power he gives me, I want to be as humble as possible. And humble doesn't mean weak. It doesn't mean soft. But a tremendous amount of humility to respect everything and everybody around me. And that's important. The other thing that we have to do, especially if you have children, I mean your children, if you consistently save them from trouble, you will block them from their destiny. That's for your own biological children, and it's also your players. They have to be able to fall on their face. It's important that they fall on their face. That's the only way you can grow. Because I learned a long time ago, God's gonna train you with trouble. If you have a peaceful life, man, that means God says you're not fit for the battle. When you steady in that bumpy road, like, man, things can't seem to go my way, I'm struggling with life and all that, you got a chance. Embrace that challenge every chance you get. And it's important that you do that. And the other thing, as our coaches, as those guys continue to navigate, and I say to our assistant coaches all the time, guys that want to be head coaches, you cannot reproduce what you do not possess. So when you're trying to develop young men to be leaders in all these positive things, if you don't possess it, then it's hard to reproduce it. I had a pastor say years ago, about 9 or 10 years ago, he said, I'd rather see a sermon than hear one. I'd rather see a sermon than hear one. That's really your everyday walk. Now, with that being said, we all make mistakes. Now, let's not get that part twisted. We all make mistakes and we all fall short. Try to be the best person you can be, man. And the other thing I try to live by, and this part is really hard. The last thing you ever said to somebody, what was the last thing you ever said to somebody if you never see them again, if they no longer on this earth? How did you make that person feel? The last thing you ever said to them, how did you make that person feel? We have to do a good job of coaching hard, but not breaking spirits. Because each young man or young lady that we coach, there'll be somebody's mother, father, husband, or wife. And it's hard to be that when they're broken. We have to do a tremendous amount of take time and energy of lifting them up every day. How do we pour into them every day? Every day. And as we all know, and I guess when I was in college, I guess it wasn't really talked about, but the mental issues, stuff we deal with, the struggles, anxieties, and the stress, we never talked about that. But I think that's real. And we have to give that the space that it deserves, man. Think about sometimes, man, I go back to when I was going to middle school, high school, but not so much high school after the 9th grade. My mom in an abusive relationship, in and out of relationships. And I took that to school with me because it was normal. But that stuff can affect you. So I think as coaches, oftentimes, let's get underneath the hood, man. See what he, she are going through at home. Try to figure out and just get a pulse of that life and that relationship to help them out, to talk them through it. Because that's very important, man. It's one thing to coach them hard, man. But at least figure out the backdrop to help them out in that situation. Now, I'm free for any questions you guys have, anything you have, anything.
Got 88 people on here right now, so don't be bashful. Coach is open.
Anything.
Well, I first want to thank God for this opportunity.
Well, hey, before we get going, all right, I got some people that aren't regulars, so I'm going to ask if you aren't, please introduce yourself, name, and what program you're coming from.
Yo, Ryan, do you mind if I go first?
Go ahead, Adam.
Yeah, what's up, Ryan? What's up, everybody? I'm Adam with Rising Coaches. And I apologize because I came in late. I was watching the game, and Cody Cohen shot me a text and said, you got to get on here. Coach Martin is just dropping gems. So I stopped what I was doing. I tuned in. And Coach Martin, I just want to say thanks. That was amazing.
What's up? How you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good, man. It's good to see you.
All right.
Yeah. But anyways, I just want to say thanks. That was amazing.
Hey, Coach Robert Alfonso, man, how are you?
What's up, Coach?
Hey, man, how you been, man?
Good to see you.
Likewise. Hey, you mentioned something. Well, first of all, I appreciate the gems that you shout out from the beginning. But wanted to ask you, I mean, in all your years of coaching, how did going out to Cal Berkeley really start reshaping your thought about being a coach, or what I'm saying, or what the importance was when it comes to dealing with our athletes, regardless of age, and because I found it interesting when you did go out to Cali, that you took the Cali job after being at Tennessee and being the guy that was building Tennessee for what it was.
Well, great question. And what I'll do is when I was at Tennessee, it might have been my second year there. And I'll never forget, man, I was reading a book and I was out walking. I remember the tracks I was walking on, just like it was yesterday. And I just said, so it was probably 2013 maybe. And I just said, God, I'm tired of running. And I said, I want to be the lion chaser. I said, I'm tired of running. I said, God, give me your toughest assignment. And if I fall, God, give me the strength to get back up if I fall. And I said, if I don't fall, could you please take care of my wife and my 3 kids? Because you gave them to me as my father, you gave them to me. So now that means you take care of them. So because for so many years, I heard my mom, we would always pray like we were, and I say this respectfully, like we were begging for some. God, put food on the table. God, pay the rent. God, pay the bills. Mm-hmm. I was so used to praying, like, I just said, God, I don't want that assignment. Go ahead. I want to chase the line. So that means if I'm staring down the barrel of a shotgun, I can't flinch in the midst of it because I know I'm standing with you. I have to be strong in that. And I'm not talking as no tough guy. I'm not. But if I trust in him, then I got to lean on his understanding 100%, and I cannot flinch. So then when I went out to California, a lot of people thought it was a lot of dust at Tennessee. Man, Tennessee was a tremendous experience for me. Not a place I want to ever be again, but it was a tremendous experience for me because I asked for that. So when I went to California, I had never landed, only twice in my life have I landed in the state of California. So I went out to California. It was a beautiful experience because the Oakland Bay area, tremendous diversity, culture, lifestyle, weather. And what I found that they could, respectfully, they could care less about sports. Now they had sports, but it was a tremendous academic. It was the #1 public institution in the world. So when you're talking academic prestige, they had parking lots for Nobel laureates. Like some might have parking lots for NBA draft picks. They had them for the Nobel laureates. They took pride in that. So they had those professors. When you look at CNN, MSNBC, and the other station, they had those professors that were speaking at those events. So for me, I started spending time with them. I'm like, man, this is powerful. But then the other part, what's helped me to this day, when they would protest out there, because Cal Berkeley was the first place that was a public protest on Cal Berkeley's campus. But when they would protest, there were more white people protesting than black for black issues. And I'm sitting back like, man, because again, growing up in East St. Louis, which is 100% black, I never experienced anything in West Lafayette, Indiana, while I went to school at Purdue. But then when I went to Tennessee, I was like, man, this
different.
Yeah, I'm sitting there like, wow, man, this is. And my wife was like, and we both, from the Midwest. She's from Indiana, I'm from East St. Louis. Like, man, this is, I don't want to coach in this type of environment. This is not. I enjoy this. I enjoy development. I don't want to be a part of this. So when I went to California, just changed my whole perspective. And I say that, and again, I'm getting off track here, but I was up close with Colin Kaepernick because Cal Berkeley's campus is probably 45 minutes from San Francisco 49ers. And when Colin Kaepernick took that knee, I saw it up close. But again, hard to say, but I got to say it. Self-preservation took over because what happens is you sit there and say, man, I like to take a knee with him. But then I'm sitting, I work for a university and I want to be able to provide for my family. So if I do that, what are the consequences and repercussions behind that? So now you sit there like, oh man, you feel bad. So when the opportunity came to be at Mizzou, it was more so, yeah, I enjoyed basketball and the experience to compete and try to win a championship, but I enjoyed because in 2015, Mizzou had a lot of racial issues and tension, and it was heavy. So I wanted to be in the mix of that. I wanted to be a part of that, man. I said, because man, we got to be in the fight if we want to make change. And so now here we are in 2020, and I'm in the fight. And that's one of the main reasons I say that Cal Berkeley helped me understand the importance of not only our student athletes getting a degree, but coach, you got to help me get the job. Ain't no just no degree, because if I'm an athlete and it's just a degree, coach, I graduated 2.4, maybe 2.3, 2.4 at Purdue. Man, I'm not getting that job, coach. Coach, all that time I could have been an intern, you had me in the gym, coach. Now you owe that call to me, coach. That's the least you can do. And I think that made me understand the importance of making sure our guys get jobs and have successful careers. And the other thing, and I say this with all due respect to everybody on this call, my fight for all of our guys, man, to be doctors, lawyers. I tell my players all the time, be a police officer, be in the military, so now you can create change. Because think about it, if you're a police officer, you're in the military, man, you can retire at 40 plus years old, you can do something different. Plus you have benefits, you have health care. Now, if you're gonna be an engineer and all those things, okay, great. But if not, why not transition to be a police officer? Because, if you hesitate to be a police officer, you police in the community that you went to, the university or your hometown, at least you're familiar with the environment. And now all of a sudden we sitting there as Black people, we've been saying it for 400 plus years, the police officers, all this, okay, well, how do we create change? If we don't get in the fight and we don't get in there, we'll never create change. So now that means, I say to my players all the time, they'll tell you, be a police officer, be in the military. Now you control the environment. I tell my players all the time, don't get into coaching, be an AD. Now we can create change. I said to my sons, so it's probably been about 2 months, and my oldest son, he's in grad school at Boston University studying speech pathology. My 18-year-old son's a freshman playing basketball at Purdue studying engineering. I said to both of them, I said, guys, I said, I don't know if, I said, I don't know if I'm gonna be around on this earth long enough to see real change. I said, I don't. I said, but I got a box for you guys, and if I'm grateful to have grandkids, I got to do it for them. I said, because there's a Black race, we're probably 80 plus years behind the game. When they redlined us for so long, the jobs, when you talk about all the cities that the Black massacres were, when you wanted to be segregated, okay, we were segregated, but then you destroyed my community. So what do you want? So my fight for anything, and I say to all you guys, if you have players, man, get in administration, get in law enforcement. That's how you create change. You're not going to create change if you're in coaching, because somebody has to hire you to get the job. So who's in position to hire somebody so we can get the jobs? That's important, man. How are you going to be in coach? Okay, great. But somebody got to hire you. We got to be in position to do that. And those things are very important, man. You got to make a sacrifice. And until we as a community, we always talk about education. What is education, man? There were a lot of successful Black people in Detroit when they had the car industry. They were making a lot of money, $100,000+ a year, and they were very successful with a high school education. What is the education without a job? That's an angry man and a woman. That's what that is. And if I can't provide for my family financially, what do you think the next thing I'm gonna do to provide for my family? I gotta feed my children. As a Black man, and I said Black woman, I love all people, but as a Black man, it makes me feel good if I'm able to provide for my family. That makes me feel good if I can provide for my family. I take pure joy. Now, if I can't provide for my family, now my wife looks at me like, man, that's a tough feeling. Your wife looking in your eyes, you can't provide for your family. I gotta be able to put food on my table. You take all the jobs out of my community, how do you expect me to feed my family? And the other thing, which we have to get better in our communities, because they've hit us with a slow death for so long, we never paid attention to this part, the healthcare. And I'm gonna say this respectfully. I'm saying this with all due respect. And we have to look at us 43+ million Blacks in this country. For every one of those videos that we get consumed with watching, I know it's painful. But for every one of those videos we get consumed with watching, so that's one video, they're killing us one a week. That's tough. I know it is. But it's 1,000 of us down a week because of poor health care. They've hit us with a slow death. Y'all watch them videos, keep watching them. But we're gonna hit you with this slow death over here. We have to get better with our health care. We have to. You have to fight your players about eating right. Make sure their parents, they even do a podcast or Zoom with the parents. This is what our players are eating. We don't eat no salt. We don't eat whatever. That way you slowly speaking to the parents. Limit that salt. Limit that intake. Have a walking marathon. Everybody on camp, we walking. Whatever it takes. But it's a slow death in our communities, and I don't know if we're going to recover. So, again, I'm saying with respect, don't get consumed with that one video a week when thousands falling every week because of poor health care.
Coach, I appreciate your time, man.
Thank you.
Coach, this is Tick Price, man. Thanks. You really have done a tremendous job speaking to the coaches. I watched you over the years back when you played at Purdue for Gene Katie, coming out of high school at East St. Louis.
Oh, man, Coach.
Every time, Coach, you had to go from East St. Louis to Purdue. You had to make a change from East St. Louis to Tennessee. How were those adjustments from a kid from East St. Louis going into those two environments?
Coach, great question. I should have started out with my story, but I say my story so much, man. Coach, when I went to Purdue, I was on. I don't know if so many young people on. I don't know if you even pay attention to them. The Greyhound bus lines, y'all still see that? So, Coach, I was on the Greyhound bus line. So it was 4.5 hours. Greyhound bus line. Coach, I had a black trash bag. We didn't have a lot, so I had the trash bag with me, whatever I had. And I'll never forget, Coach. And this is all true story, and it is what it is. Got there, and so Coach Katie took me by to meet the owner of Wendy's and his wife. He owned all the Wendy's restaurants. He's one of Coach's best friends, and she said, because they know I didn't have a lot, so she bought me some underwear, Coach. And it's what it is, man. And she said, "What size you wearing?" That Coach is crazy because I didn't know what size underwear, and all that. So she bought me underwear, t-shirts, Coach, and it was Coach, it was a great experience for me because nobody mistreated me. And like I say, East St. Louis is 100% black. And going to West Lafayette, Indiana, Coach Katie said two main things to my mom and to us. He said, if you go to class every day, he'll get a degree. If he work hard, he'll play. There was no promises. Now, Coach, again, I had other schools coming in. They were talking real nice, Coach. They sweet talking me, put me to bed. But Coach Katie said, if he go to class every day, he'll get a degree. If he work hard, he'll play. And Coach, we talk at least once a week to this day. And then we have a great relationship. He pushed me hard, Coach. Now, when I went into school, I had my first knee surgery in the 9th grade. I still have 2 pins in my knee, 2 screws in my knee to this day. I had the same surgery that Kevin Ware had, but only different, my bone didn't pop out. So I still have 2 screws since '87. That was my 9th grade. Then I had another major surgery my senior year in high school. But when the state tournament run, I had to keep playing. So Coach Katie, I would never forget, they asked him the question. He said, would you continue to honor his scholarship? Coach Katie said yes. And the doctors, it's word for word, the doctors and the trainer said he might be able to play a year at best because my knee was so much wear and tear because we never had money to know about rehab and all that. So just you deal with it. So I got a tremendous amount of respect for Coach who's standing strong, believing in me, never giving up on me, man. And the thing that helped me, Coach, and you guys might have heard me tell this story before, the thing that helped me at Purdue, Coach, was real. His words were his words. And I never forget my freshman year, we played at Illinois. And everybody thought I was going to Illinois, Coach. And I played 45 seconds in that game. That was tough. My mom was there, family was there. And my mom, after the game, she had these Hallmark cards. I think they still make Hallmark cards. She had these Hallmark cards, and she had one for Coach Katie, had one for the assistant coach. She would give him a hug, gave him a card. And then when it came to me, she just kissed me. She hugged me and said, are you reading your Bible? I said, I know I said yes, but I really wasn't reading it at the level I need to be reading that. But I said, yes. And that was it. She kissed me, hugged me, she was gone. That was it. It wasn't no, what Coach, you need to sit down and talk, why I need playing, what's going on. That was it. So my fight was my fight. And I wasn't running from nothing anyway, but that was my fight. And my only goal in life until I met my wife, and I met my wife my sophomore year in college. We met at Purdue our sophomore year. But really, I think it's our junior year where I really started, you feel it. But my only goal up until that point was making my mama happy. That was all that mattered. I didn't know what that was. I didn't know what it looked like. I got to find a way to make my mama happy. And Coach, I'm gonna say this, and I'm saying this with all due respect when I say this, Coach. I was able to buy my mom a home, beautiful home. That's everything in life for me, bonus, man. It's bonus, man. When I was able to do that, and I'll say this again. I'm just kind of feeding, because like I said, I always give everybody what I got. Now. You can do what you want to do with it. For all of you young guys, and I say young respectfully as men, I'll be 49 here in September, but I say that with respect when I say young. When you're in relationships, when it's you, male or female, whatever the situation may be, keep your business to yourself. Don't tell your buddies what you got going on. Try to work with her, not telling her friends what you got going on, because what happens is, and I learned this through my relationship with my wife, you know, you're a young guy, you're kicking up dust here and there, and all of a sudden my wife would have been in a situation where she go and tell her friends or tell her mom what I'm doing and all that. We would never be here today. We grew together. We took our lumps together. We have a tremendous relationship to this day. 28 years later, been married 25 years. And I'm gonna say I wouldn't flinch if somebody, I would take a bullet for it and wouldn't flinch. All I would do is say, let me pray first before you make a move. I would take a bullet for it and won't flinch. And I say it with all sincerity. So when you're in a relationship, it's the two of you. Nobody else in your relationship. That's important that you understand that, man. The homies don't need to know what you guys, none of their business, man. That's important. You fight for your family every chance you get. Everybody make mistakes, everybody falls. I ain't judging no man. A flawed man can still be a good man. Don't get this twisted. Guys gonna spend time in the joint. Man, I spent time in the joint because I was trying to feed my family. I spent time in the joint because somebody's trying to take what was mine. Don't judge no man. Help him when he get out the joint. The black man, I say it all the time, the black man is the most hated being on the earth. The black man is the most hated being on this planet. Why, I do not know. When you talking about all the stuff we did on the backs of the black man, we pastured the fields, we picked the cotton, we built the house, we made the food, we took care of the babies, and all of a sudden the babies get older, you teach them how to hate us. Well, they loved me when they was a baby, I took care of them. We did all of that. We did all of it. And then you want to rape my wife. And I get mad about that. I want to fight you now. You want to kill me. We want to run away, then you're going to kill me. And you get mad at me. You sell my kids off when they 12. You sell my daughter off at 12 years old in a different state, and I never see my daughter again. And I'm supposed to be happy about that. I'm supposed to smile as I work. What else y'all got for me?
Coach Martin, Nate Dixon here at UMBC. How are you?
Coach, how you doing?
I appreciate it. I was actually going to ask a question, and you kind of answered it there through the last couple. I've heard you many times. I work for Coach Mage at Charlotte, and so I've heard plenty. Know Coach Katie well, and we're the same age. So kind of watch you through college, and I will say this to all these young guys. I was going to ask a question because I've heard many times you really praise your wife, and I'm glad to hear you say that, because that was going to be a question. She set up some coaches' wives' things at the Final Fours and stuff. And I didn't even have to ask the question. You said it. But I was going to basically just ask how you guys traveled and navigated through this coaching profession together. And I'm glad nobody really asked you. You just said it. And every time I hear you speak with passion and humility. And I've heard you many times, and I appreciate it. That's all I wanted to say. And hope you young guys, listen to what he has to say, because a lot of times it takes more than one person. You say it's a village all the time, but it really is the woman at home's holding the fort while we're taking care of our team. So I'll let you go from there if you want, but I appreciate it. And every time I hear you, I get something out of it, and kind of fires me up a little bit. So I appreciate you.
Thank you, Coach. She's she's a strong woman. And I'll kind of tell you the backdrop. And I'll say this, and you can judge me. It doesn't matter if you judge me, because I only have one Father as God. So however you judge me, so be it. But I couldn't tell you right now what's in my bank account. I couldn't tell you. My wife handles all that. One thing I know about my wife, whatever happens, she's going to take care of her family. Like I said, I couldn't tell you what's in my bank account today. My wife was the one that set up sending monthly money to my mother without me even knowing. So I say that to say, I prayed for her. I prayed, I said, God, whatever I pray for her, that's the woman I want. I also prayed that God, I don't want to have a desire for no other woman. I pray that. Because we all men and women here. We all see attractive. Everybody see attractive people. I'm not saying that we all fall short. So I'm not, again, a flawed man is not a bad man. So I'm not saying that. But I knew me, so I prayed that all the time. God, I don't want to desire another woman. I don't want to desire another woman. So whatever it is that I fantasize about, let it be in my bedroom. That's what I pray about. Because I can't sit here and ask him for all those things. I can't sit here and ask him when I'm 26 years old in Avellino, Italy, and all of a sudden they say, man, I'm running down the court and I pass out at half court. And they take me and they say, let's go to the hospital. And they do all tests and x-rays on me. And they say, you need to get back to the States immediately. I'm 26 years old. So I went from Avellino, Italy, Rome to New York to Indianapolis, where I lived. I'm carrying my son. Joshua was 4.5 months old. I'm carrying him. We walk in the house. It might be 1 o'clock in the morning, walk in the house. And I'm so exhausted. I dropped Joshua on the couch. Luckily, that couch was right there. And my wife was getting the bag. So she see me on the other couch. I'm just laying it to the side. And I said, we need to get to the hospital immediately. And so we went to the hospital. So it's between 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. We go to the hospital in Indianapolis. And the doctor does tests and x-rays. I mean, it's probably our blood work, all of that. And I'll never forget, he said, I don't know if you're going to die, but this is life-threatening. He found a tumor between my chest and lung area about the size of a baseball. They were hopeful that it was just tuberculosis. So I had to stay in the room that night. My wife and son, they couldn't come in the room. They were outside of the room, and I'm sitting there watching them through the screen. And as I just started praying to God, and at that time, I'm normally 215 pounds when I play. So I went from 215 pounds in a matter of 4.5 months to 185 pounds. So, and I just prayed to God, I said, God, whatever happens, if you allow me to see Joshua, that's my son's name, you allow me to see Joshua turn 18, then whatever you want to do after that, God, it's your will. Just allow me to see him turn 18. Joshua's 23 years old right now. So again, life is bonus and life is beautiful for me. So again, I can't ask God for those things and not believe in him. Because Proverbs 3, 5, and 6 says, trust in him with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. Because if I'm not judging nobody else, but if I truly believe there's eternal living, then I have to trust that. Then if not, then I'm a moving target. So I believe this. So I stand on this every word, whether I agree with it or not. And I talk to God like it's my father. Like, man, I don't agree with that. Why you got me doing this? Whatever. That's how I talk to him. Because that's how kids. My daughter talked to me. She talked to me crazy. She only 13 years old. So I figured I could talk to my father like that. So that's how our relationship is. And I always look at it like I'm staring down the barrel of a shotgun. And I can't flinch. I can't flinch. Because I know I'm protected. And I always say to God, if it's your will, I'm no longer on this earth, take care of the family that you gave me. And I let the chips fall where they may after that.
Coach Martin, Gamlia Halagba, University of South Dakota. I appreciate you coming on here, dropping all this knowledge for us. But it's very evident that you walk by faith. And through all your stops, you worked at a lot of public institutions. And, it's kind of, for lack of better words, frowned upon to speak very outwardly about your faith at public institutions. Just talk about your faith walk and just also being a man of God at public institutions and how you operate those circles with your faith and preaching that with your teams and just because you're very outspoken about it and it's hard for a lot of people to do that. So just talk a little bit about that and how you're about to navigate through that.
Well, again, self-preservation is real. You have to provide for your families. That's real. And you have to respect the space that you work for a university. That's real. But I still believe in God and I have faith So that means he's pouring into me. It's just coming out of me, but those are his words. Because I don't speak anger, I don't speak hate, I don't speak jealousy. I speak all love, but I also try to speak truth. But what I also know, and each one of us need to know this, and I say this word respectfully, there's an old person inside of each one of us that's expecting us to do the right thing. So if I sit back and I'm making a little money, I'm living a good life, and I see all this stuff going on in this community right here, but I'm good. That ain't got nothing to do with me. I'm good. Man, you will be judged. I ain't talking about on this earth. You will be judged, man. You have to understand that. How much time are you guys going to them communities with those inner city communities, just pulling them kids aside, bring them over to school, come to practice all the time. You're welcome all the time to come to this practice. I have little kids in my practice. I don't care how loud it is. You come to this practice. All the time. Be allowed to do whatever. Because if they can't see you, think about your position. If they can't see you, then how do they know what to visualize, what to look for? My hometown, East St. Louis, because one thing I'm talking to the Men's Oversight Committee right now, and NABC is like, man, do you realize in those inner cities where they have predominantly Black communities with all these rules, man, how do you expect those youth to understand what success looks like if we're not allowed to go back and speak to them? Mm-hmm. I should be allowed to go back and speak to anybody 8th grade and under any day I want to do it, every 5 days a week. That's crippling those Black communities if we can't get in there and talk to them. Because if nobody's talking to them, then the streets start talking. And when the streets start talking, it's hard to get them back. So we have to be able to get into our inner cities, our communities, and talk to, pour into those kids, man. You can even make a video where they, or even the sound where they play on the speaker in the school is your voice. Hey, we're having a great day. Make sure you're having a good time. This is so-and-so basketball program. Hey, make it your best. Accountability is everything. Gratitude is everything. And you're pouring into them. Zoom call now. Zoom into the school. Zoom into that youth. Let them feel you. Let them feel you because they can breathe. They can see that. My vision in East St. Louis is Jackie Jonah Kersey. That was my vision. So I saw that. We have a great relationship today because I saw that. So we aspired to be more and do more. The Soul Olympics, we shut the whole school down for Jackie. It's a beautiful feeling. That's what we had to get to. We have to pour into our communities, man, and it's exhausting. If you don't leave work exhausted, then you're not working. Because part of what you do is supposed to be for your job, then you got to pour into that community, and you got to deal with your family. It's exhausting. When you go to bed at night, you should be out cold. And if you're not doing that, then you're not really living.
Appreciate that.
I'll say this too, because what happens is oftentimes you see somebody like myself, Coach Tick, guys have been in for a long time, amassed success, been doing it for a long time. But I want to be clear here. I want to be real clear. Not one word. I'm not good at exaggerating stories because all of a sudden this Zoom call pop up 20 years from now. It's like, man, my kid, he lied. That wasn't true. He lied. That's why I'm not good at exaggerating stories, man. I want to say something. When I was going through cancer, I did chemotherapy for about 4.5 months. And when I was going through that, my wife and I played professional ball I was drafted by the Hawks. I got cut by the Hawks. I ended up getting picked up by Milwaukee. I got picked up by Vancouver. I was in the CBA, played in Europe. And my wife, she worked in the corporate world for the first 15 years. and was very successful. Eli Lilly, downtown Indianapolis, was a great company. But I'll say this, when I was going through chemotherapy, we had like maybe between 90-some and $100-some left in our name. And we had to go get some of the money from my son's piggy bank. And Joshua, he's probably, 4.5, he's almost 5, 6, 7, 8 months now. So we had to spend all of what we had on groceries, the last penny. This was 1998, 99. The last pennies, zero. Never asked anybody for anything. Not one soul. My wife, she walk around the house somewhere. If she walked out, I'll let her tell the story. Never asked anybody for anything. Walk her down a little harder, scratch and claw a little harder. And it was, I wasn't embarrassed. I wasn't ashamed, man. I really wasn't, man. I wasn't. I just, it's what we had to do. I was okay because what made me okay, I saw her eyes. She respected me. She valued me. She knew what I was going through, but she still loved me. So I was good, man. I wasn't worried about nothing else. I was good. And it was a beautiful feeling knowing I got to keep plugging along. I ain't never had no quit in me. And I took pride in just being able to provide for my family, man. But we had zero. There was nothing left. Even a couple of times when you have, I think, your overdraft protection and all that. Yeah, that was, yeah, that was real, man. It just, we kept plugging along. And now it's us two together, man. And I say this respectfully. We have a home in California. We have one in Illinois. We have one here. We have one in Boston. And we're looking for more. And I say that with humility. Because I'm no smarter than anybody on this Zoom call. I'm no tougher, no nothing. I just lean on him and I don't flinch.
That's good.
Coach Martin, Sean Tucker, Chesapeake College women's basketball. When did you realize that you were going to coach and that coaching was your passion and this is what you was going to do for your life?
Good question. I really, what happened, Coach Katie, so when I was in college, I never went to summer school. Because I would have to work, and forgive me Sean, if I don't answer this, but I try to give context. But when I was in college, I never went to summer school because I worked and I got a check. So my check was maybe $336 every 2 weeks, somewhere around there. So I could make more money working than I could with a scholarship check because I needed to send money home because I had two sisters. And not that my mom said, send me money, but both of my sisters had babies at 18, 19 years old. One of them has a PhD. She's a principal at East St. Louis High School as we speak. And the other one is a special ed teacher. So I think she definitely has a master's, and both of them had babies at 18, 19 years old. Both of them had boys. So what I would do, I would work to make money to send home so they can go to college. We wouldn't stop it. There was no stopping. They had to. So I never went to summer school. So what happened, Coach Katie called me with an opportunity to be on the staff, but I had to go back to finish school. So say, for example, it was 98, 99, I had to go back to college, or 90, somewhere around, I had to go back to school. So I basically went back a year because I need like 20-some hours like that. So I got my degree because he said, I want you to be on my staff. And the only reason he wanted me on his staff because he loved me as a player. And to this day, if you hear him talking, he said I was the greatest leader he ever had in all of his years of coaching. And it wasn't because I was the best player, because I always took pride in being a great role player. But he knew what I would bring to the table when it came to team and family and all those things. I love playing with Glenn Robinson, who was the #1 pick in the draft, because I wanted to see him successful. I've never been a selfish, jealous type of guy. I played with Alfonso Ellis, who's the #4 pick in the draft in high school. We grew up together. So I've been blessed to be around guys like that, and I enjoy that. And I was never offended by this. So I think Coach wanted me for those reasons, not because of my credentials, because there were way more qualified people than me. But because of my relationship with him and my love for him and his love for me, he gave me an opportunity. So I had to go back and finish up school. And it was just like that. I mean, I wasn't in college talking about coaching. Now, Matt Painter was my teammate. And Matt Painter, that's all he talked about, just coaching. He wanted to draw plays up all day long when we were in college. So he wanted to be there and do that. For me, Coach called me with the opportunity. I just said, okay. I was done playing with my knees. At that point, I had 4 knee surgeries. I was, I'm done. And that was it.
Hey, Coach, Duran Stinson here, coming from Phoenix, Arizona.
What's up, Coach?
So when you're taking over all these programs, taking over at Tennessee, taking over at Cal and at Mizzou, what was the first thing you're doing? Because I'm going into my first job being a head coach at the high school level, and just trying to navigate doing this, being a young Black man, and trying to figure this all out.
The first thing, I think when you talk, there's a lot, people get caught up in the first 90 days, first 100 days, man, that's all fools go. I think that's all, in my opinion, that's a slow death when it comes to Black coaches trying to get jobs. I think it's, okay, give me your first 100 days. Man, you don't really care about my first 100 days. I mean, what does that really matter? Oh, you want to win ball games, because if you really care about me graduating players, then you talk about this. So all that, if you want to do that, that's fine. I don't think that means anything. So for me, I've always taken guys with me on the staff, whether I felt like they was ready for that challenge or not. I felt like there was a loyalty level, and if I had to pick up and carry a little more weight to bring them along, I would do that. Even if it took a little more time off my plate to do something different, I would do that. But I was going to find a way to provide a guy a job. But I was also adamant about, and I love, again, I'm going to say this, and I don't want to keep saying, I love all people. I don't care if you Pakistani, Russian, I don't care, I love people. But I also felt like it was important that I give Black men and women opportunities because they don't get them other places. I had a strength coach, Nicodemus, he's with me to this day. It's probably 9 years. I hired Nicodemus at Tennessee. He was 25 years old. Black young guy with dreads. I hired him. He's in the SEC with little to no experience. I had a Black director of operations, but he's been promoted now. He's one of my assistants now. I was adamant about those things because oftentimes they don't see us in positions of strength coach, director of ops, those positions, because those are somewhat thinking positions. So that's important. And I say this to white coaches alike, man, you have to look for Black men and women to be in director of ops, those positions, because the perception of that position, you have to get them in those positions. And I think for me, it's just really hiring a quality staff. And for me, I've never been big on a resume of a guy. Now, if there's negative things about him too bad, I don't want to mess with it. But it's always about what type of person is he? Is he a hard worker? What type of guy is he in the midnight hour? I mean, is a guy partying all night, drinking all night long? Man, I don't have no problem with that, but it's a time and place for that. Is he a guy, I'm going to say what I'm saying respectfully. Is he a guy as a coach, when he talked to the young guys, all these bitches, oh, how many girls you smashed and all that, man, hold up, man, you don't need to be talking like that to that young man. You the educator, you the teacher. You don't need to be talking, because he's going to get old, that's going to be somebody's father and somebody's husband. So you don't need to talk to him like that. We don't need to be cool, we're not homies. You the teacher, man, educate him, help him. So just finding quality staff guys, man, and then the other thing is, man, when you find a staff, can you find somebody that can carry their own weight? That's a beautiful thing. Because everybody want to be a coach, man. A head coach is exhausting. And if you got assistants on your staff that can carry their own weight, you got a great staff. That's a beautiful thing. And they got humility. That's a powerful thing, man. That's a powerful thing, man. And they value each other. I respect what you're doing. How many guys on the staff is, hey, man, yeah, but so-and-so on my staff, he does a hell of a job, man. That's how they talk amongst each other, and you can feel it in their soul. Ain't no hating going on. That's a beautiful thing, man. And your players see all that. They know what's going on. But you got to find a quality staff, man. Quality staff. And I say it all the time, and I don't judge no man, but if you're doing it under the table, make sure somebody else eating. If you're doing it under the table, how you do it? Make sure somebody else eat, man. We got 4 brothers out of the game, man. We got 4 brothers out of the game. Why aren't they head coaches out of the game? Come on, man. Well, I like to think they took care of him, did a great job of taking care of him. Them dudes will never get back in the game like that, man. That's tough, man. That's tough. So again, if you're in that world, make sure you're sound and know everything that go with it.
Thank you, Coach.
Anything else?
Coach, Amir Abdurrahim, Kennesaw State.
What's up?
Just thinking about something, man. Having followed you, obviously, man, Missouri State, Tennessee, Cal, Missouri. If you could just touch on, like what your non-negotiables are, not only because I think the thing people fail to realize is this: when you think about it, man, you've had some great teams, but man, you've also signed some big time dudes. You talk about Jaylen Brown, you talk about Ivan Rabb, Jeremiah Tillman, so on and so forth. But when you look at those guys, when you look at your teams, man, they play with a toughness, with a grit that, in a sense is unmatched sometimes. And I think you got to have some non-negotiables, right? When it comes to that, to recruiting, and then when they get to campus, could you just touch on those?
Yeah. Good question, Coach. It just the one thing that I say, and my players now they notice I say it jokingly, but I'm serious when I say it. I always say to our players, I don't care if you like me. I already got the woman of my dreams. So whether or not you like me doesn't matter to me. My job is to get you where you got to go, because I look at it like this. Your mom and dad passed the baton to me. I got to pass out this real world. You ready to go? And what I always say to our guys, man, even in the fight, what we're dealing with today off the court, progress is painful. And the other thing, freedom is very expensive. So if you want all those things in life, better put your boxing gloves on, because you're going to fight until they put you in a casket. And that's very important to understand. So when I talk to our players, man, it's not, I love them guys. I want to see them all successful. You're not going to make everybody happy. I try to coach them all the same. What I won't tolerate more than anything is disrespect. Because I'm not going to respect. I'm not a guy that cuss. I don't talk like that. So what I'm not going to tolerate is disrespect. Now, what I do, because I think this is where we go wrong sometimes, Coach. We always say we want high character for our culture. Well, if you judge my character back in East St. Louis, I wouldn't have been in West Lafayette with Gene Katie. If you were judging Glenn Robinson back in Gary and he wouldn't have been in that uniform. Let's not put a gun to these young guys' head on their character, because they don't know what they don't know. I'm 14 and 15 years old, man. I don't know what I'm going to know at 40. I'm a product of my environment, so why you beat me up? That's my environment, man. Help me. You supposed to be the teacher. Help me be better. And what I always say to a guy, allow me to help you. I said, I never want to get to a point where we got to part ways. Because it's hard for me to part ways with a guy, because, again, I know what this world look like, especially if he's a young black man, come from one of those tough environments. I'm saying this with respect. He got tattoos up and down his arm. The perception of you becomes a reality. So that's the thing I got to fight for him. And I tell our coach, I got to be your eyes. I say to our players all the time, I got to be your eyes 10 years down the road. Allow me to help you. I don't want nothing from you but success. Nothing. I ain't never, not one of my players signed the agent for him. I always say, you need help here, 2 or 3 guys, take the pick. Now, I'll sit there and say, man, I'm not sure about this guy, whatever the case may be. My agent has never represented none of my players. He already know, none of that. So we ain't never no angles, none of that. Our relationship is based on pure relationship. Ain't no angles, no deals cut. So now if you mad at me, you mad at me for the right reason. I always tell up the guy, if you don't hate me for the right stuff, then I'm good. But don't hate me for nothing that's weak and fragile. And the other thing I think this is what I say to my assistant coach, because this is one thing, and I'm not a man that hate, but this is one thing I hate. I always tell my assistant coaches, don't ever say to a player to motivate him, coach said this, unless I said it. Because, man, you can manipulate a young mind. You might have some assistants on your staff that got a little angle toward this kid. He recruited that guy. I want this guy to play, so I got a little angle. I might say 1 or 2 words to this kid to throw him off. And all of a sudden, you sitting there as a coach like, man, what's his angle? What's going on with him? And you never know what was said, because one of the staff members put some of that man's ear that you never even said, just so he can motivate him, because he can't handle himself as a man. You got to be speaking on stand on your own as a man. I tell my staff, don't ever speak on me like that unless I said it. And I always tell my players, I meet with them at least 2 or 3 times a month. Did anybody say anything? If you ever hear somebody say something that you question that I said, make sure you ask me. I for some reason, Coach, I dislike that, because I never want you to have an angle on a young man's heart and his mind, and it wasn't real. You could change his life in a negative way doing that.
I appreciate it, Coach.
Yeah.
Zoe, what's going on, man? Damon,
What's up,
what's up with you, man?
Oh, good.
Man, I've been, you've been in Tennessee, you've been in Cal. I was an assistant in both Memphis and Arizona, and recruited a lot against you. But I really want to talk about the Tennessee piece, right?
Yeah.
Not really talk about it, but I want to, because
WD.
unless people live down that neck of the woods, they don't really know what it's like out there in that South, man. And I just want to know from your perspective, what did you feel like, and you know what, so you can kind of go, however deep or not deep that you want to go. But I just want to know the perspective of how you felt about coaching for University of Tennessee, how they courted you to get the job, but then once you got there and you had the job, how it was really out there.
Well,
and then Zoe, how did it make you better moving forward?
Good question. Well, the whole thing is, again, East St. Louis, 100% black, so I never experienced it. I didn't really start outside the N-word that we use. I mean, growing up in that environment, the N-word could be 10 different things and 9 of them positive. So when I went to West Lafayette, Indiana, that's when I started to learn, you heard stuff from afar. That's when I really started to hear, racial slurs. And it was from my white teammates, but not talking about blacks, but just how they would use, again, and forgive me if I don't answer it, I'm going to get to it, but
yeah,
I didn't, and this sounds naive, but I didn't understand, Jewish, Italian, all, even though we had history class, until I got in the locker room with my other teammates. White teammates, oh, he's Jewish, he's Italian. I'm like, man, I thought it was all the same. So I learned that. So when I got to Knoxville, Tennessee, I guess that was, and I say this respectfully, that was the first time I felt like I was in the South and felt like, I guess, the 60s, but I have to be respectful of the 60s because, again, it wasn't at that level. And I got mail and I got all that. I had cameras all around my house. I had it all. It was real. And the hard part, man, was you busting your butt and you working hard for a program that don't love you. And you sitting there, man, and never once, you can ask any one of my players, I never said a negative word about no administration, no fans, or nothing. I told them guys to keep plugging, keep fighting, keep doing what we're supposed to do. But what happens when you got all that tension that's swirling around your players here and all that, man, it's hard for them to concentrate. We did a tremendous job of keeping them locked in on the task at hand, man. I read somewhere, God will dig your ditches according to how far you dig. And I said, God, give me that assignment, man. I wasn't running from that assignment. And I'm grateful for being in that assignment. But I tell you, my wife never wanted to set foot in that state again. And it wasn't like we were sitting afraid, running around, man. But I'm telling you, and again, I want to be respectful of the 60s and all that, because I never lived in that world I can only imagine. But man, there's no, it's like there's no joy in this. You win a game that's like, man, you're winning for them, and they don't like you. And they said that, they had a petition going in. And one thing about it, D, when I'm locked and loaded, I can't see nothing around. I never watch TV or news, none of that. I'll never forget Tim Hardaway. And I've been knowing Tim Hardaway for the crossover Tim Hardaway. I've been knowing him for a long time, man. And Tim came to the games. He was a Miami Heat scout, and he came to one of our games. And he says, "Oh, I'm listening to him on the radio." And we like 21-9. He says, "Oh, I'm listening to him on the radio, man." And it's like, man, the way they talking on the radio, you need to get out of here, man. And he said, I'll look and see y'all records. Like, man, what's going on? I mean, it was that level, man. It was a crazy feeling, man. And so for me, and I'll tell you the story, man, I was going to stay there. There was another job that they called me. I just didn't feel it in my soul. And man, I was in Cincinnati with my son playing youth basketball in Associate D at Cincinnati with great friends. And she said, the school, they're still calling, because Cal Berkeley started calling, man, when we was around the SEC tournament around that time. And I said, no, I'm good. I don't have no interest in that. I'm good. And then, so I was good. And then after we was at an event, she had the phone, like I'm sitting with her because her son playing too, is in Cincinnati. And she said, here's the phone. She basically saying it's the search firm guy. He's like, man, all you got to do is come out here, you this. And I wasn't really feeling it. And so that was a Friday. So that Saturday morning, we went back. I got back and I talked to my wife. I said, what you think? She said, whatever you want to do, I'm ready to roll. So she was past it. And I say this with humility. My wife has never been in this for the money. If I can get out of this today, she'd be happy. Because she knows the anxiety, the stress, the time you put into it. She knows it. So if we walk away today, she'd be happy. So what I did was, because in Knoxville, everybody knows, so I had a pair of blue jeans, I had a little black little bag with my suit and stuff, and all balled up, so I had to iron it when I got to the hotel in California, and I had a low hat on, regular shirt on, and I drove to Atlanta. It was 3 hours. Once I got on the plane once I got on that plane in Atlanta, it was done. I was taking a job. It was done. Because I said, man, this is, and I said to the AD, and I'm still friends with the associate AD. I said to him, man, you guys should never hire a black man here. You should never do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. I said, you should never do that again. And the other thing about it, when I was there, we had the third most wins in the league in my 3 years, and we had the third most road wins in the conference. The 14 teams, when they redid the contract, so I was already like 13 or 14. Me, Johnny Jones were at the bottom, 13, 14, somewhere around there. When they redid the contract, it made me like 12. And again, it's all 100 talk, man. The AD didn't want to meet my agent, so now I got to try to negotiate with you. Man, I don't know nothing about contracts like this. So my wife and I, my AD, we talking on the phone, just doing this stuff for like 2 weeks. So I presented to him, and he just kind of, well, here's the contract, here's the contract. And I said, okay, shook his hand. That was the last time we talked. And they found out what two of my assistant coaches, you guys know Tracy Webster, and one of my other assistant coaches, Marco Harris, we like brothers. We grew up together since we were 4 years old. So I had both of them guys. I say, guys, I'm taking this job. So I said, go get the players out of class, because I wanted our players to know before anything happened. So say my press conferences was 1 p.m. I told them, go get the guys, let them know right away, Crowler, they don't have to go to class, whatever, and let them know. They let them know before I had the press conference. That was it. I never looked back, man. It didn't break me, but it was just, it's like, but that's what I've gone to different places, because I understand that the university owes me nothing. I don't take that for granted. And none of those universities' buildings have my name on it. And I'm smart enough to know that when it's time to move, it's time to move. If I move 10 spots, I'm moving. Because every move I make is based on what's best for my family, not trying to win a ball game. It's best for my family. And when it's time for me to get out this game, it's time for me to get out this game. It's time for me to get out this game. And I don't care about none of it, because I ain't doing this long enough to break no record and win this games and that games and all that. It's just, I'm good with that. Because everybody understand their path. My path and what I do is, if I'm on the other side of this thing, then my fight is the box for you guys. No question about it. And it'll I say this with respect, it'll be tough for them on that side, because I won't let up. I won't let up. I just think sometimes we got to have guys on the outside of it right now. They should be more outspoken and more adamant and more aggressive. I'm telling you, because, man, if I'm a black athlete on these fields and these courts right now, there are certain things I demand I got to have them before I touch foot on that field or that court again. I need this in writing. That's what we need, people on the outside helping them understand that. It's very important. It's very important that we help them understand what they should be fighting. If we don't do that, then who are we?
Thanks, Zoe. Appreciate that, man.
Coach Martin, Timothy Pete, Missouri Western. I've had
What's up, Coach?
two friends in Jerome Mayman and Nafis Ricks work for you, and they play for you as well. How have you used guys like that to bring back on your staff to be able to preach your message, and how you use your passion to kind of get to your purpose in life, which to me from afar, from just looking, your purpose seems to be not just changing black men's lives, young men's lives, but just changing the narrative to allow them to change the narrative for the future.
Oh, man, I think when you have players, you owe them everything you got. My players know there are no angles. I don't have nothing to hide. They know my flaws. They know my scars, everything. Because, I mean, I think people respect and appreciate authenticity, man. Everybody, I had 4 knee surgeries. I had cancer, man. My mom was in an abusive relationship. All that, you name. My brother spent 10 years in the joint. Both my sisters had babies, almost 18, 19 years old, man. I grew up in East St. Louis, which is the roughest part of East St. Louis, called the Hole. So, I mean, what I got to hide, man? Ain't no shit, man. Why would I worry about somebody judging me? I done been to the bottom, so I ain't embarrassed about too much or nothing. I done seen the bottom. So for me, it's just with my players, man, understanding, man, you have to give more, you have to do more in order to be more. You got to fight for more. So what I always say to my players, I'm joking, but I'm serious. As a black man, when you leave the house, you down 10 with a minute left in the game. You got to have that mentality. You down 10 with a minute left in the game. How you going to win the game? Don't nobody want to hear no excuses. I don't want to hear no excuses, man. You got to scratch, you got to claw, and you got to fight. You got to scratch, you got to fight. Everything you got in, you can't let up, man. When you see our slogans as a team, you see me say, I say to the finish line. What that really means till they put me in the casket. But to the finish line, so whenever you see that on the surface, yeah, that sounds nice and sweet, but that means till they put me in the casket. That's when I'll stop boxing. Because if you're not fighting for your players with jobs and opportunities, man, you got to stay on them hard. They got to make Coach, you grind me out. You drive me crazy. You get on my nerve. I know it. I'm going to keep doing it. Because I got to give you everything I got in order for you to get where you're trying to go. It's important, man. Think about it. I said Martin Luther King, man, he had one daughter. She was 4 months old. His house was bombed. That man could have got out of that fight, man. I don't want no more of this. Nelson Mandela, 27 years in prison, man, because he was fighting apartheid. That man didn't have to do that. Muhammad Ali, 3 years, man. That's my career, man. I'm at the height of my career. How much money I could have made. They don't have to do that, man. So what we fighting for now? What you fight for? What you demanding from your ADs, man? We need to get all these guys jobs. Every time your administration, when they go to the donors and the people that give money, all them people are successful business and companies. What each one of you guys should be saying to them. When you got a job open up, we got the athlete for you right here. You don't need to search for nobody else. We got it right here. This way you get your money. This way you graduate from. We got the athlete right here. You can get him the job. Give her the job. We got the product right here. Have them donors come to your practices, man. Be adamant about them coming to your practice. Come on, kids, see the practice. They don't realize you really setting them up for one of your players to get a job. You like him, you hear him talk. He like a good guy. He's a great character. I love him. Okay, now he need a job now. You was cheering for him in the stands, you know. That's the same guy. He's just gonna wear a different suit for you. Same guy. You gotta demand they get jobs. If not, then who are we?
Hey, Coach Martin, how you doing? Tiger Aldridge from Brunswick Community College. A name from the past, a guy named Robbie Carter played at East St. Louis High School. He said, Tiger legends recognize other Tiger legends. So he wanted me to say hello to you for him. He talked about East St. Louis and growing up in the area and how tough and getting out it was. So he speaks very highly of that struggle. So one of my questions is related to University of Missouri. I know historically in the past, there's been racial tensions on campus within the city there and the school and athletes. How have those things changed on campus, or how have you and your staff been involved with relationships around campus? Kind of like, what's the current atmosphere at Mizzou now when it comes to race and racial interactions on campus?
Oh, I think it's good. I mean, I think it's probably similar to schools in the South. I mean, because here's what I say, and this is what you need to be leery of when you're on college campuses. If you're on the campus and nobody's kicking up dust, that's a problem. When you see Mizzou, they got racial tension, they're kicking up dust, that means we got enough blacks to kick up dust. So when you have a campus, nothing going on, that's when you should be concerned. Because almost like, I've said this respectfully, we got ours taken care of down here. They good. They good. We don't have no issues. So when you got a campus, when you see and hear about they kicking up dust on that campus, I want to be a part of that fight. Because that means you got enough to fight. But if there's nothing going on, you got a problem.
Thank you, Coach.
Got any more questions for Coach?
Hey, Coach. Good evening. Greg Ackles, Wake Forest High School, North Raleigh, in North Carolina. How you doing tonight?
What's up, Coach? Good.
Appreciate the knowledge, man. This been high quality, man. Definitely got a lot out of you tonight. Two questions. One, how do you think college basketball got shaken up a little bit with McCord Maker heading out to Howard? How you think that changed sort of the landscape, and like what kind of success do you hopefully think, not hopefully Howard does have success, but what's it going to take for that to be sort of a normal with like top 5 kids, top 5, top 10 kids heading to HBCUs? And my second question, what's it going to take, like with Notre Dame going to Howard? What's it going to take for it to be a regular to see Power Fives travel to a HBCU, once a year, once every 2 or 3 years, something like that?
Oh, good question. Now I'll answer the one for us Power Fives going. I think that's something we've talked about in the SEC. We plan on doing that moving forward. Probably should have done it in the future, so we definitely plan on doing that. And I think you should do it. You owe that. Even before George Floyd and all the stuff that we have, the racial unrest that we have going on, you should do that. So now your next question with Maker going to Howard, I think it's beautiful, man. I think I respect the fact that he decided to make that decision. Same way I'm forever grateful to all the young men that come to my program. But I say like for example, like a Jaylen Brown, everybody in America recruiting him. He comes to Cal Berkeley. Everybody, what's going on? They must be buying all of that. Well, if you know anything about that young man, you know his character and his makeup. That man made a decision. Forever grateful for that, just the decision to go to Cal Berkeley. Great institution. But here's the key. Well, and I'll kind of throw this back and add to it. I had, when all this stuff was going on and everybody was saying stuff about why white coaches stepping up, white prominent coaches stepping up and saying something about this George Floyd and all this and all that, like they owed something to say. I mean, because if you don't feel comfortable saying it, you have that right. So then I talk to guys, guys I know, family type guys, and I was sitting there saying, man, why would you be mad at them? It ain't like they went through the neighborhoods with a ski mask on, robbing and stealing players. We give them the players, so they successful. So when you wonder why you got a lot of guys on here should be high level coaches at the highest level, well, I need good players like them to do that and be that. So if I'm sending all my players to them, then I'm mad because I can't get a job, then we got to look at our grassroots guys and say, man, what does it take for us to get those players so we can have those opportunities, so it can be more of us? So again, I'm happy that he made that move. I think you should be able to go where you want to go as a basketball player and be grateful and happy about the opportunity. Don't be afraid to do some of that. I think it's a beautiful thing. We need to do more than I just think grassroots guys really we got to build better relationships, I'm assuming, but they got to be able to help us. It's hard to win at any level without good players, man. Everybody need good players. You need good players. I like to meet the guy that's won at a high level with no good players. I like to meet him. I need to see what he's pouring in his drink. And it's important, man. We need good players in order to be successful, man. So I'm always grateful for families that allow me to coach their sons. I don't take that for granted. I don't take that for granted because we can't talk about it if we're not going to be about it. And it's important that we give opportunities, man, because you think about it, man, we got 13 with Power 5 coaches out of 65, if that. Whew. So then that means, why do I need to hire a black head coach? What do I need that for? Why do I need to do that? If I'm able to get rid of 4 black coaches because of some FBI stuff, I'm able to get rid of 4 of them and don't flinch with it, what it means, where's the black power? Where's the muscle? Did we strong on them guys? Ho, mate. Did you look out there? Let me call him, see if you took care of him. Whatever went down. Did he take care of you? No, he ain't do nothing. Oh, he didn't? Okay, we got this one. Can't get no more players. We cut him off. Then the other thing is like, man, this is not a black and white issue. If we play in tennis, 99% of tennis, mostly white, then all the coaches, it's okay for me. Why nothing wrong with that? When you're talking football, men's basketball, women's basketball, at least 50% of your staff, at least should be black. At least. The other thing we got to demand, why don't we see any black trainers, black doctors, black sports psychologists on these campuses? Well, I don't see that. I need to see some of that. Why when I go by the Black Culture Center, it look like a little small little house? And then you got that fraternity and sorority where we got 15, 20 of them houses look like mansions. I walk by that Black Culture Center, I walk past, I ain't know it was a Black Culture Center, was so small. Come on, man. Come on, man. Guys, you gotta do more than just coach the actual game and practice. There's a lot of stuff going on around that campus and have your head spinning. But you gotta get in the fight, man. One more question, anything, guys, whatever you got.
What's up, Coach? My name's Caleb Koopa. I'm an assistant at Westtown, and one of the things I kind of wanted to ask you was, what are some of the things that you've learned from some of the pros that have that you've been fortunate enough to coach? You obviously talked about Jaylen Brown and Ivan Rabb. What are some of the things that you were able to learn from them in your time serving as their coach?
I just think really, now one thing about Ivan Rabb, and I'll say the guys, so Jarnell Stokes, Jordan McCray, Josh Richardson, Ivan Rabb, Jaylen Brown, Tyrone Wallace, Jabari Bird, Michael Porter, Jonte Porter. Those are few, man. It's really a blessing, man. But you're grateful for their families giving you an opportunity. And there'll be more guys. I think we have some really good guys now. So there'll be more. So you're grateful for the opportunity. But those names, I said, 4 or 5, and you probably don't even know, but just we worked hard. And again, it's all of them. They got to put the work in. But I just think they're good guys, man. They allow you to push them, motivate them, teach them, lead them. But I go back to in the simplest form. They're no different than anybody else, man. They're human. They're young guys. They come in 18, 19, whatever their issues and struggles are. But I would say definitely with Ivan Rabb and Jaylen Brown, two of the most intelligent guys I've been around. And what I mean by that, they had a plan. Those are guys, I said back then, I said those guys could not play and be done playing 5 or 6 years and be very successful in life. Because it's something bigger than just putting the ball in the basket with those guys. I felt like that when I met them. When you talk to them, when you're around them, very intelligent, sound guys. It's more than just ball. They could talk about something going on in Asia. They could talk about something in Africa. Did you notice they were that well-rounded? So it wasn't just, okay, I got to hoop, I got to be a pro, I got to be a pro. Them guys would be very successful, man. Like I said, I think we have some guys like that now. But the whole thing, I go back to, Coach, and I said it, Caleb, I say this with all sincerity. I'm grateful for the parents for the opportunity, because nobody owes you anything, man. Because when you're going in there and you honest with parents, man, they leaning on you. I'm standing on your word, Coach. I'm passing the baton. And the best parents are the ones that know that it's going to be uncomfortable, because my whole goal is to inspire them to be whatever they can be, the best they can be. And then the other part, I have to challenge them. That challenging part is tough. I think tougher nowadays for young guys than it was when I was coming out, even the last 5, 6 years. That challenging part is hard because of social media. There's so much comfort. They like comfort. It's hard when you're getting on. So that second part is the challenging part. And the last thing, you got to empower them. Once you do those things, you got to empower them. You got to give them the keys to the car. You have to. But that second one was where the rubber meets the road. You got to challenge them, man. You got to get them out of their comfort zone. And that don't mean breaking spirits. I ain't talking about you punk, you suck, you bitch. I'm not talking about that. Get them to a level, man. They get to that level, they can fly the plane then. They can fly the plane. Then the last thing that you have to think about when it's all said and done, that young man is going to be somebody's husband, somebody's father, and somebody's grandfather. So what type of wisdom did you pour into him? Did you break him or did you pour into him? I thank you guys for your time, man. I really appreciate it, man. I wish you guys all the best. I mean, whatever I got, you can have, man. I don't have a lot, but whatever I got, you can have. Y'all have a great evening, man, and best wishes.
Appreciate it, Coach.
Oh, you dropped the mic again. Big time, man. We appreciate it, man. Want to tell you, Coach Martin, we appreciate you. I think he's already jumped off. So like I said, he dropped the mic. So, but guys, appreciate you guys jumping on tonight. Know we're getting back to normal life. We back to working out, man. So I'm probably gonna start limiting. This won't be a weekly deal starting going forward. But we'll try to meet up at least every 2 or 3 weeks if we can. So. But I appreciate everybody for turning in, jumping on. If you have not done so already, leave your contact information in the chat. And again, appreciate everybody tonight.
Appreciate it, Price.